Use for getting capital into your business and understanding it from our side of the desk. We want your firstborn, your house, your car. We want you to be successful. We want you to understand our rules. I think Randy referred to the evil three: collateral, credit score, and guarantees, right? But part of the SBA's programs is to teach you how to be successful and grow your business beyond those few stumbling blocks, because we all have them in our life. America's great. It's the only country you can declare bankruptcy and move forward from, and we are here to help. Now, all of our services at SBA are free, but we don't want you to, sometimes people think free. Free is not really free. Uncle Sam, your Uncle Sam, your Uncle Sam, my Uncle Sam are paying for you to be successful, because entrepreneurship is so important to the success of our country, our economy, our personal lives, the people we work with, and our communities. A healthy community is one where a dollar can circulate at least 7 times before it leaves its community. Communities that are desolate don't have that opportunity of economic growth, and we're here to help spread that. The federal government thinks our 33 million small businesses are so important that I have a budget line to help lending institutions help you grow and expand your business. In addition to that little sum of money, $32 billion, sitting with us, for example, at our table today is Business Opportunity Center. We have privilege in this district to have 5 microlenders that the federal government supports to help you learn how to overcome your challenges, should they be with credit or you don't have collateral. And they will lend you as little as $500 so that you can start to grow a credit history and a credit score. And in my family, when my children say to me, "What did you ever do for me?" I tell them I gave them a good credit score. So, and we teach you how to do that, teach our young people that's not taught in school anymore about finance and banking. And my first bank account every week, or 50 cents, or part of my birthday money, and it used to be a big brown envelope in the last century. And we used to learn about banking and money and finance and credit score. And that credit score will affect everything you do and your children do forever, for renting an apartment, to going to college, to getting a student loan, a car, a job. It's really, really important. So with that, I have the privilege today of sharing the platform with several gentlemen. We each do a little bit something different in finance, and I'm going to, Rodney, you want to go first, or should I introduce everyone first and then you? You want to go first? Okay, my co-moderator today is Rodney Foxworth, and he's going to tell you a little bit about himself and what he helps people do to build themselves into successful entrepreneurship.
I'd like to say good afternoon to everyone. My name is Rodney Foxworth, Senior. It's a junior running around, but he's doing good things. I'm proud of him. I'm here on behalf of this organization, and I'm on the committee that brought together this great opportunity for the Brooklyn community. And we have some speakers. Hello? Yeah. We have some wonderful speakers here that's going to share some information that we're not privileged to have without these people on the panel. So we're glad that we're able to assemble this great group of people to help us move forward in our visions for our families, for our communities, and for the cities that we live in and the cities that we serve. I'm the vice president of an organization in this little town called Baltimore, Maryland, but I am a quarter of a New Yorker. I always had an apartment here. I do business here for the last 20 years. I catch the train on Mondays. I come here all the way up until Thursdays. I sleep and go back home, go to church, and come back to New York. So I've been privileged to work with Reverend Dennis Dillon for the last 12 years on different projects. So I'm just glad that he called me to assist him in this great global vision that he has. We're looking at it to be a movement, but we're also looking to take it from Brooklyn to a global level. So we just want everyone to enjoy the opportunity that they have and take notes if you need to, and we're going to introduce this great panel. First, we have Mr. Kofi Achen. He told me it's a Chen, and he's the vice president of J.P. Morgan Chase. He's a senior business consultant, and he's going to share some information with us that we all need to take to our businesses to make it successful.
Thank you. My name is Kofi Achen. I am a senior business consultant with J.P. Morgan Chase Minority Entrepreneur Program. One of my good friends already advised me on using the word minority, so I'm very careful, so bear with me. I've been with Chase for 12 years, being in the financial industry for over 20 years. In 2020, J.P. Morgan Chase came up about 5-year, $30 billion commitment to our minority communities. The purpose and the reason of the 5-year, $30 billion commitment is to help reduce racial inequality in the country. $26 billion out of the $30 billion is geared towards home loans and affordable housing. Between 2020 and 2025, J.P. Morgan Chase is making sure that they provide up to $2 billion in terms of business loans to minority small business owners. Between 2020 and 2025, Chase is making sure that they provide about $750 million in terms of procurement contract to qualified minority small business owners. A couple of months before this 5-year, $30 billion commitment, J.P. Morgan Chase initiated a new program called Minority Entrepreneur Program. Minority Entrepreneur Program provide educational, one-on-one coaching, and advisory services to minority small business owners. Minority Entrepreneur Program can be grouped into 2 groups or 2 areas: educational and mentorship. We provide education through webinars, seminars, models or articles, and through community events such as the one we're having today. We provide mentorship on business best practices and on business important topics like business cash flow, business development, business operation management, and business access to capital. If you are a minority small business owner and you've been in business for 2 years and you generate business revenue over $100,000, we will be happy to enroll you into our mentorship program. If you have a new business or your business do not generate $100,000 in gross revenue, that is fine. We have a special mentorship program designed for you to We call it curated coaching. One important fact about our mentorship program is that it is free and there is no obligation. This means you don't have to be a Chase customer before you can enroll yourself in. Assuming you are a mentee of mine or for the program, and you opted to be mentored on access to capital, some of the important topics we will cover include personal and business credit. It is important. I'm sure most of us in this room know by now that now you can go to Chase Bank and apply for business credit up to $250,000 without providing any documentation. The question is, how do they make credit decision? And the answer is very simple. They depend primarily on your personal and business credit. We will cover that during our mentorship program on access to capital. The second thing we will cover is we talk about cash flow. We will discuss both cash flow from the theory aspect of it and from practice as well. We will also talk about debt service coverage. What does that mean? This is a financial mechanism that most lenders use to analyze and make a loan determination. We will also talk about types of lenders and types of credit. We talk about loans, line of credit, business credit card. So far as I'm concerned, the best time to apply for business credit, line of credit, or business credit card is when you don't need it. We will talk about also community development financial institutions and the wonderful and important role they play in our communities. One quick note. As of yesterday, news broke that Chase, we're going to do special purpose credit. We did it in 5 states. Just as of yesterday evening, we announced that we're going to do it nationwide. What does that mean? That means the goal of a special purpose credit is we extend credit to small business owners who may otherwise may not be approved for loans. We're going to do that nationwide. The fifth thing we're going to talk about on the access to capital discussion is we talk about SBA. It is super, super important for us. One quick thing about SBA for Chase, SBA program with Chase is that we are actually preferred lender, SBA preferred lender, which means we get to underwrite most of our SBAs in-house. I thank you all for listening.
The next speaker that we're going to have up is Mr. Randy Pierce from the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce. He was one of the sponsors, and he was speaking to us earlier, but he's going to talk to us in more detail about access to credit and access to capital.
First, I want to start off by saying all partners here, we work together. The goal is the same. Sometimes I like to say things that maybe get me in trouble. I hate credit scores. I hate credit scores. Credit scores are modern day financial bondage. And we don't educate our youth on how this one aspect can impact their entire life. You know, we're starting to talk about some great things, right? Right next door, we're talking about cannabis for a long time. And it is through the credit score. And, you know, the credit score disproportionately impacts poor people, poorer people. So, that being said, You know, when I talked earlier about the underwriting criteria that needed to change, it's credit scores, it's collateral, and it's guarantors, right? But I'm not naive. These types of changes are long-term, revolutionary in some cases. You know, Reverend Mann's talked about building generational wealth, right? Like, there are things we can do to educate our young people about what that means, right? From the simple, don't cash your paycheck at a check cash, you know, to the more complex, build assets, not liabilities. Right? Now, that being said, I'll talk about what I'm really supposed to talk about. Sorry. Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce, largest chamber in New York State, 62,000 businesses in the borough. We represent them. We are a proud borough because we are per capita the highest concentration of MWBE businesses in the country. We're really proud of that. But we're a small business because have less than 10 employees. You know these businesses in our community. These are businesses that serve us every day. These are our beauty salons and our barber shops. These are our restaurants. These are our bakeries, right? These are the businesses that we rely on each and every day. And these are the businesses that did get impacted significantly during COVID when we shut them down, right? Grocery stores, okay. Essential business, but everybody else had to close down. So the thinking was, hey, look, PPP was, by the way, PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program, which SBA administered, was absolutely a lifesaver for businesses in the United States. Without a doubt, this should not even be a question. Who accessed it and who couldn't access it, that's in and your tax preparer says, let's take a loss. You don't want to pay those taxes. Then a crisis hits and you don't qualify. So, like, we need to sort of reorient our thinking, right? A lot of our businesses didn't do point of sale. They weren't taking credit cards, right? It's the new world. And you're losing opportunity when you don't. When you're not web-based and you're not selling online, you're losing an opportunity, right? So these are the things that have to happen. Brooklyn Alliance Capital, Stevenson Joseph, raise your hand. Stevenson's our finance guy. Nobody better in the business about assessing honestly where you might fit. And he's here, we've got a table. The Social Justice Lending Program, that we're trying to prove proof of concept, right? That's reference-based. The character reference comes from the community. It could be a pastor, it could be someone of faith, it could be another business owner, it could be a community board representative, cannot be elected official. That would be a conflict of interest. But everybody else, someone of stature who can vouch for the business, that matters. And by the way, that also develops community buy-in ultimately for the success of the business that's taken the recovery loan. So that's a special loan product that we administer through the Social Justice Fund. But we do other lending. We're a micro lender. What do I mean by micro lender? Our general sweet spot is between $15,000 and $25,000. So I don't want you to mistake the size. We're still mostly a chamber of commerce. We do micro lending. We've got great partners, other CDFIs, True Fund, Pursuit Lending, Axion, that do much higher thresholds in terms of lending. And by the way, through Stevenson, you could also get access to those partners as well. We do other types of lending, like I said, up to $15,000 to $25,000. That's at interest. Stevenson and I always have this battle. I always like, how low can we go? And Stevenson's like, you're trying to put us out of business? But our interest rates tend to be lower than you're going to find in commercial markets. So I'll leave you with that. If you have any questions or interest, please see Stevenson. We've got a table. Brooklyn Chamber's got a table in the back. And also our other services. Like, we do other things for businesses. Marketing assistance, legal support, access to technology. These are things that we core to help you grow your business and make it run more efficiently. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for that. And it's good to have honest discourse between lenders. And women will understand this a little more than men. Women will never go to this one shoe store to buy a pair of shoes, even if they're black, right, ladies? We don't go, we comparison shop. There are over 2,000 lenders in the United States, and none of them do everything the exact same way. And it's your right to go and compare lenders, their products, what their sweet spots are, and why they're motivated to do the loans they did. In the last century, when New York, before online banking and that you could do everything, computerized, digitized, whatever, there were lenders in the jewelry district, in the meatpacking district, in the flower district, in the garment district, and those lenders were all experts in just those type of businesses, and they might not wanted to lend to a restaurant or bakery. There are people that become experts in the lending they do, and you should test it and not just trust that the bank at your corner is going to be the best bank for your business. With that, to give you a different view of lending in supporting our communities across the city, I want to introduce Reverend Lawrence Hammond, who I just learned is a fellow Dutchman from Erasmus. And with that, I'm going to give him the mic.
Good afternoon again. I did have an opportunity earlier to just give you a little brief overview of Community Preservation Corp., where I serve as the Senior Vice President and Director of our Access Program, which I also shared with you is the acronym for Acquiring Capital and Capacity for Economic Stability and Sustainability. And when you think about it from a real theoretical perspective in terms of the impediments that Black and brown entrepreneurs have to access to capital, we understand that it's systematic or systemic, that it was created intentionally through policy and practice. The home ownership rate and the gap of disparity between Black and white home ownership was something that was created on purpose, going back 4 or 5 decades, especially right after World War II, and opportunities that were provided for returning veterans who were white as opposed to those who were Black, created this, historically created that large and growing disparity. And so the initiatives and efforts that we place to create equitable or equity in the playing field is something that's not going to necessarily happen overnight. However, as we make incremental steps to bring about change, and especially around awareness. And I think a lot of what is happening now over the last few years with many of these corporate entities that are now putting forth billions of dollars into efforts and initiatives, we as a community must continue to keep them accountable to the promises and things that they do. And so when I look at the work that I do at CPC, and it really started as a result of our own awareness to some of the equity, especially in the real estate industry. And so that is the industry that I operate in for over 40 years now. I've been a real estate lender. I spent many years at J.P. Morgan Chase. My colleague there, Deborah Johnson, we worked together many years, and so she teased me and said I was responsible for a lot of the gentrification in communities. To provide affordable housing in communities, and now a lot of those communities, as a result, have prospered. When I look at Harlem and when I look at parts of Brooklyn, I'm originally from Brooklyn, as you know, and we can't afford those opportunities now that have been created. But yet there must be a way that we are providing equitable access. And so the intentionality now behind these efforts is really important. When we started our program, we decided that, one, we wanted to change the languaging of the people that we were empowering. And so we were purposeful, and I was sharing with Kofi, we were purposeful in taking away that minority language. Because right there from the beginning, you're working with deficit language. And language has power. And so we decided that we were not going to target our program to, initially it was minority business enterprises. And it just didn't feel right in my spirit, to continue to call the businesses that we're working with minority businesses. And so we adopted BIPOC as an overarching, and BIPOC, for many who don't know, is Black, Indigenous, People of Color. So it's a pretty much all-inclusive identification that allows us to understand the diversity of efforts and the diversity of people that we are working with. And then second, we decided as well that we weren't going to take a top-down approach. Oftentimes people come into our communities with the answers and the solutions, and they're going to tell us what we need, as opposed to actually listening to the needs of the community, listening to the stakeholders that are in those communities. And so when we launched our program, we went on a listening tour, and it was during COVID, so we weren't able to actually go out into the community, but we sponsored several webinars and forums, and we began to meet. We have field office teams throughout the state, and they're our boots on the ground. They're the ones that are actually out there originating loans, and so we come alongside our lending teams, and so we're also changing the culture and the way that our lenders are looking at the businesses that they are working with. There's now more of an appreciation for working with Black and brown developers in our company, which might not have been the case prior to our Access Initiative. And so I think what I'm trying to really impart with you is that this is a movement and a change that is taking birth from the grassroots and allowing us now to be able to bring about some of the necessary change. And so what is some of that? We're looking at ways that we can create more diversity in the real estate industry. And so we're training developers, and we understood that there are several tiers of developers that we have to identify. Everyone doesn't come into the development field with the same level of skill and expertise. And that's something important for you as entrepreneurs to actually know where you are in the game, and to really make a critical assessment of where your skills and talents lie, and then how you can access additional strengths and skills that will position you so that you can be successful. And so we work with novice developers, those who may have never developed before, but yet have a desire to do some development opportunities. Perhaps they inherited a piece of land, or they own a property, but they don't know anything about development. And so it is that we take them through a training program that will allow them to have some of the basic skills that will equip them. And then we also team them up with a housing consultant. So there are ways that you can strengthen your initiatives or your opportunities by coming alongside someone else that has some strength, especially when I'm talking to my faith-based developers, those that, and I'm a preacher, and so I understand the dynamics there and the trust that has to be created, and oftentimes I say, know what you know and know what you don't know. So you know how to put together a 3-part sermon, right, with 3 points and everything, but do you know how to put together development budget? And if you don't, then you need to be able to relinquish some of that control, and some of it is the trust situation. And so we are looking for trusted advisors and others that can come to us with the necessary skills and resources that will enable us then to be successful, so that when we go to a bank or a lender, we go with strength. You know, we negotiate from a position of strength, that we understand what's at risk. We understand the risk, that way we can mitigate more effectively. And so these are just some of the things. I know I didn't get specifically into some of the product offerings that we do. We work along with our government partners, like HPD and the state. They have various funding subsidy sources that we work alongside. We bring our private debt to their capital subsidy, which helps to make these deals affordable and continue to produce the type of housing that is definitely needed in the communities that we serve. And so I'm excited about the work that we're doing. I'm excited about the opportunity to be in this stage of my career. I feel like I'm on the tail end of my career now, but this is the most rewarding time for me personally, because I'm able to now give back with resources that have been entrusted to me as the leader of this program. And I have a company that's behind me, and we have our money that we're putting out on the street, and we're just being creative in the ways that we're coming up with innovative products and resources. I think Randy spoke about underwriting criteria in some communities where historically there has been disinvestment. Then you have an appraisal issue, because you can't get an appraisal for the value of your property, and therefore the lender says, well, it doesn't appraise, so I can't lend. And so what do we do in that instance? We're more creative now in looking at how we now can leverage more debt by going above like the 80% loan to value. Maybe we'll go to 90%. Maybe in some instances we'll go to 100, 120%, because we understand that the projects that we're financing are going to cash flow. Cash flow is key. That they're going to support. The appraisal may not support it because of the disinvestment in that community, but that project will support it on its own merits. And so just being able to have flexible capital, have patient capital, capital that can stay in a deal longer than typical. Sorry. And so just different creative and innovative ways that we can be resourceful and get capital to where capital is really needed. I said enough. Probably too much.
Never too much, never too much. You know, I'm sitting here listening to everything, as I hope you are, and I'm thinking about my immigrant grandparents that came here from, well, I guess it's now Ukraine, and my grandfather was a furrier, but they didn't need furriers during the Depression, so he opened a fruit and vegetable business on Coney Island Avenue in Avenue C. And my grandmother was illiterate, but she was able to learn how to add a column of numbers and sort of run this book. And then my parents were printers and publishers in New York, Union Printers. My dad died when I was 9, and my mom took over the business, and she ran a unionized printing company before Women's Lib in Manhattan, and before 1988, when women were allowed access to credit. HR 5050 in 1988 gave women the first time ever to access credit without their male teenage son signing for it. So we've seen a lot of changes, and I was privileged to be an entrepreneur in New York City for 30 years before I took this job, and I know the struggles that we're all hearing about. But the things that we didn't have was a support network of counseling, education, which the federal government does with our partners, and government contracting and set-asides that you heard about today. So we have one more guest that has arrived. So before you put on your thinking caps and we'll open it up to a few questions, I'm going to introduce our partner with the City of New York, Small Business Services, to tell you a little bit about how the city supports our 550,000 small businesses located in the 5 boroughs of New York and the 10 surrounding counties with government contracting, so that we have a robust small business economy here. So with that, I'd like to introduce Ken Eby to talk to you for a few minutes.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to see you all. I was told by a man much wiser than me often that if you arrive late, try to be brief. So I'm going to try to keep my remarks brief, but it's an honor to be up here with this wonderful panel, including my friend Randy Pierce, and the great work that's being done by the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce and all the wonderful partners here. I want to thank Reverend Dillon as well, just if we can put our hands together for another amazing conference and convening. I think more than anything, it's important to appreciate the need to bring multiple stakeholders together to be able to address some of these challenges that our communities have been facing for decades. It's not going to happen from one industry or from one particular sector. We all need to come together, and Reverend Dillon has been an amazing convening force, bringing us all together consistently to do what's right. So I want to thank him for the opportunity. My name is Ken Eby. I am the Executive Director and Chief Development Officer of Black Entrepreneurs NYC. We are an initiative of the New York City Department of Small Business Services. And so I bring the greetings and the regards of our Commissioner, Kevin D. Kim, who will be offering some plenary remarks tomorrow. But he leads the city's essentially what has been billed in many cases as a public economic development arm. Really, it is the agency that supports the lifeblood of our city, which is our small businesses. The goal of what we're trying to do and what the commissioner is leading under Mayor Adams is to try and make sure that we are, as we think about the impact of the past couple years and the health epidemic that resulted in a crisis in the economy, we think about a comprehensive way of addressing the recovery of New York City, building New York City back, building the economy back in a way that is equitable and that is sustainable. And that really starts at providing support for our city's small businesses. So it is creating good jobs that will continue to support strong businesses, that will fuel thriving communities, that will make our city get back to where it needs to be. So the work that the city's Department of Small Business Services does is it encompasses a whole host of different programs that you probably have heard about, that our partners have probably spoken about, but there are a few that are particularly important, I think, under Commissioner Kim's leadership to address. The first one, I think, is the focus on minority women-owned business enterprises and certification. So the idea of access to capital and thinking about traditionally some of the industries that founders of color or companies that are led by black and brown founders have had challenges with getting access to capital. But one of the things that can happen is that a company gets a contract, a long-term contract with a city government agency or the City of New York. It provided a bit of a runway to bring more people on board, to bring more employees on board, to essentially carry out the work. And some of these businesses have been able to get a contract, to scale significantly, to continue to do better work, and to have the opportunity to bring even more people on and to have an even deeper economic impact. This is essential. So The certification program is one which is a very important program for businesses that are thinking about providing goods or services that the city of New York may want to buy. So looking at the city as a potential client or customer, as opposed to just a regulator, right? That's a very critical piece. And so we have a wonderful division, the Division of Economic and Financial Opportunity, which leads that certification program for the city of New York. Another initiative, which I know that the commissioner will speak a lot about tomorrow, is that the city has convened for the first time a small business advisory committee. And this consists of a number of small business owners who are advising city government policymakers on a regulatory scheme that will be conducive to growth and conducive to success for small business owners. So, how do we make the process of filing for and obtaining certain licenses and certain permits an efficient process, one that is not unduly burdensome, that does not take small business owners away from the very important work that they do to run the business, and that actually avoids some of the challenges that have made it more difficult for businesses to start and to thrive in communities that have previously been underserved and that are currently underserved. So that's a commission which is meeting and is going to meet regularly and come up with some very clear guidelines and some guidance for the city going forward. So this is something which hopefully will manifest itself in terms of the vision for Mayor Adams and the leadership of our commissioner to make New York City in its recovery much more hospitable for small businesses to thrive. And the last one I want to touch on before sitting down is I want to talk a little bit about the initiative that I lead at the Department of Small Business Services, Black Entrepreneurs NYC, or BNYC. So the initiative really is focused explicitly, and one of the things that I find to be tremendously powerful is the ability to say those words, Black entrepreneurs, and to have the opportunity to focus our attention and our resources explicitly on a group of business owners that has been disparately impacted by structural inequities, including some of the challenges to accessing capital, which my co-panelists have spoken about. But the focus is really to try and identify ways to address some of the structural challenges facing Black entrepreneurs, people trying to start and scale businesses in the Black community, along 4 particular pillars. The first of which is the one I hear from everyone, everywhere I go, which is access to capital. We talk about programs a lot, and the city and other governments speak about programs. Capital is essential, and trying to find ways to connect business owners with capital opportunities so that they can scale businesses and have greater economic impact. So we have developed partnerships, and we continue to work within the agency with some of our colleagues, including our colleagues who lead the Capital Access Division at the Department of Small Business Services. The second piece is connecting Black business owners to one another, and the notion of networking, which we speak about often, is very central to everything that we do at Black Entrepreneurs NYC. Also connecting Black business owners to technical service providers, professional services. We have tremendous partnerships, including one with Ernst & Young, the global consulting firm, to connect business owners with free technical consulting services. So we've had some good success stories out of that program. We hope to continue the program going into 2023 and to expand the program so that more business owners can take advantage of something which is in many cases, just a little bit of advice at a key strategic moment in a business owner's journey can actually can make the difference in terms of whether you continue to bring more employees on or whether you come into a standstill. So we're planning to continue to expand that program. We also, as I mentioned earlier, want to connect Black business owners to opportunities to do contracts with the city of New York. And so in addition to providing trainings about the process of getting certified, we provide direct connection to our Division of Economic and Financial Opportunity. So in many ways, in addition to our unique programs, we provide a funnel for Black business owners and entrepreneurs to connect with the tremendously important resources that are available at no cost I should say that you're already paying for through your tax dollars, right, at the New York City Department of Small Business Services. The fourth is one which we're looking to expand on and build out in this coming year, and really the Brooklyn Navy Yard is really, I think, at the center of a lot of that thinking, which is thinking about the innovation economy and thinking about the imagination, which I know a lot of us are convening here to think about possibilities. What are the high growth industries and sectors where those who are interested in starting a business should be positioning themselves? So we've done policy research and we've identified opportunities in a number of sectors that are high growth, a lot of which are tech-involved sectors. And so building out programming, including a partnership with the Brooklyn Navy Yard for an incubator for black businesses, is one of the areas we're going to be focusing very hard on in 2023. All of this comes back to the question and the issue of capital. One of the things I often say is that economic capital is very important. It's essential for a business to be able to scale. More important for the sustainability of a business is relational capital. It's not necessarily what you know, it's who you know. And providing access to some of that relational capital is one of the essential tenets of each and every one of the programs that we have. So I would like to encourage everyone who's here, who is a business owner, who is interested in learning more about us, to go to our website, which is nyc.gov/BENYC. Learn a little bit more about what we do and how we can help you. We often say, if you want to run fast, you run alone. If you want to run far and fast, you run together. We want to run with you. And so I just want to thank you all for convening. I'm going to sit down like I promised and look forward to hearing some of your wonderful questions.
All right. So it's really important from what you heard from all those our local partners. When I started, I said I was district director. So what does that mean? I lead the largest field office in the nation of 68 field office for the United States Small Business Administration. Thank you. By a woman, right? We represent the 14 downstate counties of New York. 15 million people reside in these counties, and 1.6 million small businesses under $100 million in sales and less than 500 employees. If you can't be successful in your local market, that's really hard, because we have everything from wineries to button makers to butchers to bakers and cabinet makers. So it's really important, these local resources, to locate here. And when I served as president of the Brooklyn Economic Development Corporation, there were 33,000 businesses here. And today I learned, decades later, that there are 62,000 businesses that are your neighbors. So kudos to you and the work of local government. Now, when we talk about contracting opportunities, it's like school. You need to learn how to contract locally, and then the state, the Port Authority in New York and New Jersey, and then the federal government. Because we, the federal government, is the largest single customer in the world. We spend $500 billion a year buying things, from diapers to buttons for the military, to missiles, to shooting Artemis into the skies. And there's an opportunity for everyone to earn money, and we have a disadvantaged 8A program to start entrepreneurs. But it all starts local. All things are local, and you have a great support network here. Liz is our, if she stands up a second, Liz represents Brooklyn, SBA and Brooklyn together, and we have a table back in the back, and there's so many programs I could talk to you about, but I won't. It's not the programs, it's the opportunities, and for you to build upon and find how you can help your staff grow. We also, just in case one of you are those innovative companies doing something in your basement or garage today, SBA is the largest private investor in the world. Our portfolio currently is $65 billion. If you've heard of small businesses like Apple and Staples and Federal Express, Ben & Jerry's ice cream, Chobani yogurt, they all started with small business loans. They were in their garage. They grew. They used our private equity capital before they became public companies. And that's what is important about your entrepreneurship and your growth of your company. And not everyone is going to become Apple. And that's great. If you can support your family and your employees' family, that's success too. But there is opportunity, and there are people here to help you get through whatever barrier is your barrier to make it as large or big as you want to be. And with that, I'm going to open it up to some questions. You could tell us who you want to speak to, and then I'm going to have Rodney close our session today. So does anyone have a question for anyone on the panel? Okay, let's get a mic over there. Huh? You're going to take that? And you guys have a mic? Okay.
Thank you. My name is Charles Kearse. I'm the director of Urban Impact Industries.
I don't know if your mic is on.
The Nehemiah
Oh,
Urban
there you
Impact.
go. Okay.
Charles Kearse, Nehemiah Urban Impact Industries. Question, I do business training, coaching, our organization does, specifically for churches. Has any of your organizations, and if, forgive me, I'm a native Brooklynite, but I moved away, have to come back to take care of my aging parents, and so considering moving my business back here, I wonder what type of procurement seminars, workshops. We talk about building relationships is not just, what you know, it's who you know. And are there those types of things happening both in the private and public sector?
Yeah, I'll take the first go with this. Very good question. And at the Department of Small Business Services, we have a whole host of webinars, informational sessions for people who are looking to do trainings. Like I mentioned, the MWBE certification process is one which we provide a number of orientations because there are constantly businesses that are learning about this process and kind of need the hand-holding to understand what documents to file, what are the different codes that, that align with certain types of services or goods that you would be providing the government, things of that nature. So the answer to that is yes, and a number of our partners as well at the Department of Small Business Services and my initiative, BNYC, private sector, they have these types of programs. There are incubators. There are all sorts of training programs available. So we try to provide a funnel for interested business owners to those. But what I can tell you is you should take a first look at what the city is providing in that regard by going to the SBS website, which is nyc.gov/SBS. And then you can also, if you want to try by phone, call the hotline, which is 888 SBS, the number 4 NYC, and you'll find out a whole host of information on trainings that are at no cost to you, but it should provide a lot of information.
Municipalities are using, the counties are using, so that businesses can gear themselves up for the future as we grow in this entrepreneurial space. Not so much from building the entrepreneurial capacity, but understanding where we're going and what you guys are buying. I want to know what you're buying so that we can gear up entrepreneurs to be able to service those needs.
Absolutely. Well, we should talk. One of the things I'm trying to do is provide that type of, access to information. What should I be getting my business ready to do? And to give you an example, just this week we had a webinar with the National Retail Federation which provided information on this tremendous opportunity that they're offering to trying to get more Black and brown business owners into this national retail conference. But we had a presentation from a member from our Division of Economic Financial Opportunity who was speaking to what types of services are city agencies contracting for and where is that going. So we should talk about the types of things that we can put together. We try to be very nimble in terms of addressing that information gap and making sure that we're preparing Black and brown business owners for success.
Listen.
JP Morgan Chase buy things and encourage.
Yes, we do. The question was if JP Morgan Chase buy things. We do. We actually have one of our wonderful supply diversity representative here, Sam. If you can get up, please. Thank you. As I mentioned during my closing remarks, JP Morgan Chase deliberately is spending additional $750 million, probably it's more than that, on qualified minority small business owners, on supply diversity things. Some probably is much more expert on supply diversity more than me, but we have a supply diversity program dedicated to minority small business owners. We have ecosystem whereby even if you don't meet the threshold to be, let's say, a contractor, we have an ecosystem in place where we encourage our prime contractors to work with subcontractors. So to answer your question, JP Morgan Chase has a program called Supply Diversity Program that take care of buying stuff for minorities.
Thank you.
So just quickly, the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce, our core sort of business is promotion, support, advocacy. We have an MWB committee where we bring in a lot of procurement officers, private sector, public sector, in order to present out to the group across all different industries. So happy to talk to you sort of more about that. I do want to, Ken Eby's program, BENYC, Black Entrepreneur NYC, is really, it's a very unique and special program that I would encourage entrepreneurs, budding entrepreneurs, even existing businesses to consider, because the information, the education, the mentorship as part of it truly is critical and very unique in our space. So take advantage of it. It's a great program. Kenneth has presented to chamber members a lot as well, and we partner with them on this program as well.
Okay. One sec. I just want to say sba.gov/NY. We have our programming, which includes government contracting and our resource partners, our women's business centers, our small business development centers, and SCORE, which put workshops up there too and can give you information. You can see Liz at our table in the back. Go ahead.
Thank you. And thank you to the panel. This has been a treasure chest of great and important information. My name is Deborah Lewis. I'm a former employee of Chase and BNY Mellon for over 30 years. For the past 9 years, I've been working with Mount Pisgah Baptist Church. The past 9 years have been interesting. I think the Black church is business. The challenges we have faced in terms of gentrification with real estate, the selling of the churches, we got through SBA and PPP, only to realize now that the churches are open, there's still some need for some capital, some loans. We own properties. So I'm hearing a lot about the